Okay, guys, welcome to Safe Passages. This is a new episode and actually the first recording for Safe Passages. I'm the host, Tara Jabari, and I have Maria and Ronak. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead, Maria.
Maria. I'm a graphic designer and I run a design agency. And we travel a lot.
That's awesome. I'm Ronak. Who am I? It's a big question. No idea, really. I like to climb mountains. I love to hike. I love food, love steak, love carrots. Yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Well, okay. So this Safe Passages is a podcast and a blog mostly on Substack that will be focusing on travel and digital wellness. This episode will mostly focus on the travel aspect of it, and it's going to focus on love. Because even though I'm cynical, a lot of people aren't weirdos.
It's never too late, Tara.
So, but
We're
what was
working on it.
interesting
We're working on it.
What's interesting is you two not only met during being full time nomads, but are getting married. And I thought that would be a kind of cool, unique story to share. And you guys were kind enough to come and share that story. So I like to start with sharing how we know each other. So, Maria, do you want to start? Because I know you first.
Okay, yeah. I met Tara in Senegal on Remote Year, which is this group travel trip thing. And I specifically remember she was quizzing this guy. I think his name was Matt. And she was like quizzing him furiously about Kilimanjaro.
Oh, yeah,
And
that makes
she was
sense.
like making notes, and then like afterwards, she was like, "Does anyone want to share the notes?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." Like thanks. And then I was like, "She's fun." And then after that, I guess I was like, "Okay, so she wants to do Kajara. I guess I want to do it too." And we started kind of hanging out a bit and doing different things, and yeah, that was it really.
Cool.
That's awesome. Well, I've been traveling on the road sort of more or less for like 4 years now to this point. And when we met, I think it was only my second year of nomad life. And I'd signed up for a program called Remote Year. And we were doing a 4 month Africa program. And I didn't join for the first month. So you guys, that group, I had already spent that month, I believe, in Dakar, Senegal. And I believe that's where you two met. And then I joined for the second month, which was in Nairobi. And my roommate was Richard, who I hope will watch this. And I had a first dinner with him and his friends on Hero Restaurant. It's top floor. It's supposed to be a cocktail bar, but we ended up having a dinner. And in standard Ronak fashion, I ordered three desserts instead of a meal. And he's like, "You're mental. You need to meet my friend." I was like, "Who are you talking about?" You need to meet Tara. She's a chocoholic. And I was like, I'm in. And then we got introduced in Nairobi, Tara and I, probably before Maria and I really got acquainted. And yeah, I think it was, yeah, like love for desserts at first sight.
I know. That was because it was so Maria and I got really sick. We were the first to get sick from our day
God,
traveling from Dakar to Nairobi.
it was
That
the
we
worst thing
It
that's
was
ever
really
happened to
bad.
me
In
to
that
this day.
God, that was one of the worst trips. And we got so sick that we threw up water. Remember, there was nothing in our stomachs. They just gave
That was, yeah, it just kept coming. It was not good.
Yeah, so for a week and a half, and slowly everyone else started getting sick too. But we were the
I got
first to.
sick. I was sick for weeks.
And I thankfully was only sick for about a week and a half, but it started on the day of the travel. And we get sick and we get to Nairobi. I don't leave the apartment, but I get text messages. And Richard, and I think Jesus had sent a text, and they're like, "We found your soulmate. He ordered three desserts before anything else." And I'm like, "That's great. That's great. Rub it in that you guys can have food and I can't." So
I can tell you, to this day, I have not actually encountered anybody who loves chocolate as much as Tara. It's
that
quite the
reminds me.
pedestal.
You met someone who's more chocoholic than you?
No, this happened last night. So I'm in Chicago right now, which is where I was raised, and my mom and I entered the car a couple weeks ago. We got back. I came into my car and I noticed like a stain on the car seat, and I thought it was blood. And I'm like, Mom went through menopause. Like, I don't know what the hell this is. So I don't,
Ew.
but I was like, whatever. This might get cut out. I don't know. I kind of want to keep it. So I was like, I'll ask her later. And then finally, last night, she and I, she was like, I need to go get ice cream. I'm very stressed out. You want to go get ice cream? I'm like, okay. So we go. I'm like, oh, Mom, what is this, blood? And she's like, no, it's chocolate. It melted.
Oh
And I was
no.
like,
So what happened? She just like put a bar of chocolate
it
there
was
and
like a
it
bar of
just
chocolate. And then it got really sunny one day.
oh.
And apparently it melted. And then she was like, it was the good kind. It was Côte d'Or from France. I'm like, no. And she's like, I tried.
Tragic.
I tried to save it. And I'm like, I have to remember to tell Ronak and Maria. And I was going to try and tell it before recording and I forgot. But that explains a lot. You see where I get it from.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had so much in
Mhm.
common with your mother in that way.
Dude.
You're like, oh, your mom's like, oh, do you want to go get ice cream? And you're like, yeah, sure. I mean, do you really have to twist your arm? That doesn't sound
I
like
had
much
work to
persuasive.
do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
But ice
So,
cream comes first.
but the whole thing, I was like, I've been meaning to ask you, what the hell happened on the chair? And she's like, oh, it's chocolate. And then what broke our hearts was the kind of chocolate. Anyway, so
It's the saddest type of chocolate melting.
so true. But okay, so that's how we met. But then how did you two meet? And
Yeah,
It
then
was
so
that relationship.
so I didn't really know anyone because I was entering into your travel group, whom already knew each other from the month prior in Dakar. And I'm traveling down from London, and I was immediately acquainted with my roommate, Richard, top chap, high energy,
He'll be on the podcast.
full of laughs. Yeah, to that you're in for a treat for the next episode in that case. Probably way more engaging and thrilling than this one. Anyhow, and I then quickly became sick, which tends to be the theme of all of our stories. And he was kind enough to take me to hospital and so forth. And I guess he told his friends and stuff like that. And Maria also became sick, or continued to be sick, and was taken to the same hospital by the same gentleman, Richard. And Maria was kind enough to actually message me saying, hey, checking in, how are you doing? Via WhatsApp. And I was like, well, not so good, but I'll be okay. And she's like, I've got some electrolytes if you need it. And I was like, nah, I'm good. It's okay. And then I couldn't keep water down. I was dehydrated, drier than a bone. And I took her up on her offer and I was like, actually, electrolytes sound good. I think I need something. And you came
It
down
was
to my,
actually Valentine's Day. Big, big,
Oh,
big
but then
thing.
it was
we went
Valentine's
to
Day.
the safari in that morning. We did the sunrise in the
Yeah.
safari. Yeah.
I think I was feeling slightly better. Yeah, because I had that cute pink dress.
Yes.
I'd seen somewhere that someone had put in a group chat, they'd like matched us all up for Valentine's Day. I saw like our two names together. So when I was like texting him about the things, I was jokingly said something like about Valentine's Day, like what a romantic date. And then I get there and I give him the electrolytes and I like joked about it and he didn't get it and he thought I was being really weird.
Oh, you didn't
Yeah,
realize it was
I know.
Valentine's Day?
My mind was elsewhere.
That's
I had no
He
understanding
looked
of what day it was.
unwell. Yeah,
I
he was
wasn't
not
doing
well.
well. So it wasn't quite the Valentine's Day that I would have architected. But yeah, anyway, she gifted me electrolytes, and that's how we first met. Probably not under the best circumstances, but it was supposed to be a Valentine's date, but turned into a hydration savior.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Well,
it, really.
and when we're traveling in longer terms like this, so with Kenya, then you guys go to Tanzania and then
Mhm.
South Africa. So for three
Yeah.
months, we were going to all travel together. Um, it's not going to be very easy, always going to be easy and all sorts of stuff. And there's studies that had shown that in reality television, it was between The Biggest Loser and The Bachelor. More marriages had lasted from The Biggest Loser than from The Bachelor because when they came from hardships and from like your lowest
Mm,
points, which is the Biggest Loser, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get healthy, you're sweaty, you feel
yeah, you're
gross,
gross.
all sorts of stuff. And then you're trying to better yourselves and you have to be there for each other too. Obviously, it's a competition still. Versus The Bachelor, they're always dolled up and always beautiful and really,
Like the best case.
yes, in this really gorgeous like mansion or whatever.
Are you saying that I was gross in Africa?
Well, no, I'm saying he was because he needed electrolytes. You were a little better and you had your pretty dress on. He hadn't seen you before. But also, then you guys, we had these 3 months, and eventually I'm sure it's going to come up, but you guys ended up doing Kilimanjaro, and it's not going to be easy. And I don't think you guys had started anything more than just a friendship at that point either. So I think that says something. Or have you guys noticed that there's a truth to it where you guys were like, it came from a more realistic, like, this is us every day, or this is our lowest point kind of thing?
For sure. Yeah. And like I'm sure Ronak will say as well that like when we did Kilimanjaro, we barely knew each other. So it was basically like was there five of us, I think? Five or six? Five or six of us up the mountain for 6 days and we just like hung out and we laughed and we made friends with everyone there. And exactly like you said with the sickness thing, you create these bonds with people that you travel with as well. So, you're just having a baby white bath in your sleeping bag and doing all your stuff. Everyone else was going out to shower. I was like, no way. Like it's freezing. So,
Yeah.
you're just being you.
Yeah, that's so true, actually, to see each other in your authentic, original selves without this sort of superficial performance which sometimes you get on a first date. You dress well, you put on makeup, do I pay for the bill? I'll sneak to the waiter to pay for the bill and so forth. And there's a lot of performance. I think you're so right. There was no essence of trying to perform or court during those first couple of months at all, really. It really was a friendship first. And when you travel, as we all have, and you meet these friends, you build memories together, right? You go through shared experiences, and a lot of them are incredibly high adrenaline and fun, and some are low points and challenging. And going through that together, Maria really basically highlighted to me kind of person she is. Even right dated back to the Nairobi thing, for her to just generously gift electrolytes like that. It sounds like a small gesture, but it literally meant the world to me in that moment. And it was just a huge mark of character, the kind of person she was, and hence I had an affinity to a friendship with that kind of person, and therefore Maria. And then, yeah, absolutely. Like, no real shower for 7 days. It's not exactly the most romantic setting on Kilimanjaro. And it's difficult. Neither of us had really properly hiked before then, although Maria did do the Sarkento Trail. It was just, yeah, like hardship, I guess. And it's funny you say the biggest loser in terms of lowest point. I guess for them it's the highest point on Biggest Loser. But anyway, and yeah, like you see each other in like high stress situations and how they're dealing with different situations and people when maybe like that's their real self that gets surfaced. So I actually I love that because we didn't force it and it organically grew from there. So I'd never really reflected in that way, but I think you're probably bang on, Tara.
I know, I bet it
Yeah.
was. Go ahead, Marie.
I feel like just going off that, like it's something that I think in digital nomad relationships, if it's okay to talk about this, Tara, does
Yeah,
this
yeah.
fit? Okay, so like it happens very quickly because you're not seeing someone once or twice a week and like dating and like commuting to work and like whatever you're doing, especially on remote year. It is 4 months of seeing the same people every single day. You cry with them, you smile with them, you dance, do crazy things, and you work next to these people all day. And to really like, it really puts an accelerator on any kind of friendship or relationship or any I guess bad kind of negative vibes as well. If something isn't working, you're seeing this person every single day. You have to really kind of work at that and make sure you're keeping your peace and everything like that. So I feel like what Rona was saying is it was like the blessing for us that we didn't really know what was like that was happening kind of under the surface. And it was such a great foundation.
Yeah, that it began as just a friendship, or it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, you're sick, I'm sick, let's get through this
Yeah.
together, which
Something
is,
in common.
you
Yeah.
know, and that we have no one else but, we have Richard, Tara's sick. We'll get a chocolate when she's better, which we did, and all sorts of stuff. And then at some point, it just kind of organically grew. And now we're here with your guys' wedding a couple months away. Because one of the reasons is a lot of people have this, everyone who does not travel as much as we do, and a lot of people who don't, are not nomads, basically, right? They're like, oh, we just have this like fantasy of like, did you have this romance? You know, those little love stories that you see in films or in books and stuff like that. And we also met someone who's going to come to your wedding, Brooke. She said, oh, I get that all the time. And I fall in love in every single trip that I've taken, but not in that kind of romantic love. The friendships, or she might make another kind of sort of relationship. And one of mine that I actually approached sorta, but I haven't actually talked to them. I really want to. Sadra and Bridget, I think is such an interesting, because they have called each other soulmates, but they're these friendship. And Sadra met us in Senegal, and Bridget met us in South Africa, and they didn't know each other. Then they meet each other through Maria, basically, mostly. Where was it, in Mexico? A couple months later?
No, we went.
Albania.
No, where does Dre live? Croatia.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Croatia.
did
Croatia.
like 2 weeks in Croatia, I
There you go.
think, and then a couple of other trips after that.
Right. So in like 4 months apart, you know, kind of thing, that they never really met each other before. Then they meet a couple months later through the same group. But then that's how these two are inseparable. And there's like a little wedding chat for us to just be like, oh, do we want to get a house for Maria and Ronak's wedding and all that stuff? And when we got the wedding invite, I go, and Sadra goes, actually, I got an apartment and I have room for one more. Bridget goes, I call it. And I go, shocker. You know, like these two
Yeah,
are like
they just have
Siamese
that
twins.
affinity.
And I was like, that's another one that we never really talk about. Most people think of what your situation is. Oh, they fell in love, they're going to get married and all sorts of stuff. But I also like that we're going through your trajectory of like, oh no, I was sick as a dog, you know, and all
It's not
sorts
that
of stuff.
romantic.
But I think that is the realistic, and that makes it more romantic. And that's what makes it special. And that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it. And that's why I also would like to talk to Sadra and Bridget and hear it from their perspective. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, because these are the things that are interesting. Because I can't think of any books right now. I can only think of 50 Shades of Grey. But that's, you know, like that kind of like fantasy kind of thing. Oh, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. That was another one. Like everyone keeps thinking of those kinds of. She
Is it
took
like you go somewhere, you meet some gorgeous local man, and
or like a stranger, and then they
run off
fall in
into the
love, and then
sunset?
all sorts of stuff. And then you're like,
Got
okay,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
that doesn't really happen. So when it
But I
did
don't think
happen.
it does happen. I think I got so lucky with Maria. I'll explain why. Because I'm useless at communicating. And I think even with Say and Bridget and any great friends, even us, right? Us three as Tara, when you're a nomad, you already have sort of pre-planned your itinerary for the year. Roughly, you kind of know where you're going, and then you happen to meet someone in South Africa, right, in March. But then you already planned your Portugal trip for summer thereafter, and they've planned their, whatever, hiking trip in Argentina thereafter. So you know there's a finite nature to your interaction in March in South Africa, and you're going to part ways. And so that plays on your mind because there's an end point. And normally, when you're growing up and you have your permanent friends in London, where I'm from, you don't have the end point. There's sort of this horizon mirage. There's always time and future, and that can be a problem as well. You delay, and you don't build intense interactions or connections or memories. And so Maria and I had separate plans after South Africa, and I'm sure Say and Bridget did as well. And
Right.
so if it wasn't for Maria actually being intentional and conscious, actually meeting up again and again thereafter and cultivating more of a depth to interaction to see if they could actually flourish into a full relationship, we probably wouldn't be here right now. And to do that heavy lifting, and I'm sure Say and Bridget and Maria, the three of them, if they didn't plan that trip to Croatia, post things, and have to do that heavy lifting and that sort of manual coordination, etc., those friendships will dwindle, I think, and without that surface time and contact time. And so I think I got really lucky with Maria, who's really good at keeping in touch
That's
with
true.
friends, coordinating things,
I'm quite
and
the texter.
yeah, exactly. And
You're
I,
the only
yeah,
one who
doing all the
FaceTimes me when I
organization.
ask for it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and she's the best at that. She really is, and I think I got very lucky.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
true. It is an effort for sure.
I think, oh, could I say a point?
Of course.
Yeah. Off the back of that point, which is, I think you're great too, and I got very lucky. But an additional point is that this timeline of friendships is something that people are not used to. Veronica's talking about it. You're not used to having the end date. And it really is like an education of it's not the amount of time you spend with people, it's the quality and that connection. And it doesn't matter if you spent like Sadra and Bridget, they met like for 2 weeks and then now they're best friends. And it's like that's all it takes. It could take a day. You meet some people and you're like, you're my people. I like you. You're doing good things. It's the same with Ronak. It's like we want the same things. We're like on the same page, and you're just like, that's it. It's really simple. And obviously you have to explore these things a little bit more because you never know like everyone's sides, and I've been very fortunate, but it's something I think people are not used to. Maybe a holiday and then they get a bit like White Lotus, you're around those people, but then you go back to your normal family life.
Yeah.
That's so
That's
true, because you kind of have to put yourself out there and have that sort of self-esteem and self-worth to think, oh yeah, like they want to be friends with me too. So like let's go on that coffee date next week and chit chat
mhm.
about, our love lives or whatever it is. And it's not going to come to you. I honestly fell in the trap. I would always just expect someone to instigate and you know, do it. And as a result, I probably have a lot of lost friendships, which, I don't have right at the moment, which could have been. And Maria's really taught me through that lens. And actually, Tara, you're really good at that. I find that even though you're in Chicago, it feels like actually you're also here in Cape Town with us because you will send like random WhatsApps, totally unsolicited, but also not like asking a question or for a specific
Yeah,
agenda. And it's just like, here's something interesting, basically, or here's, something, a
I
chocolate
Yeah,
I
thought
ate
I
of
for.
you.
totally told you about the
And
Yeah,
car
I
seat
thought of
thing
you.
anyway.
Yeah, I
do they
thought
call
of
it
you.
pebbling as well?
Yeah,
Pebbling,
that's
have you
it.
heard of that?
Like the
Yeah, you like
penguin thing? No.
I think it's like you say, okay, I told Ronak I like these Malteser chocolate bunny things. They're so good, by the way. You need to try them. And he, every time he sees them, he buys them and he brings them to me. Apparently, is this concept of like, I don't know, showing someone your love and attention by kind of affirming that with maybe a story that you see on Instagram, and then you send it to them. And you think that really made me think of you.
Yeah.
And I think you're really good at that. Like something tweaks, and you're like, I'm going to text her right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pebbling?
Well, it's
Apparently,
what
I
we
might
call
have it
pedaling.
wrong.
I don't know what,
It
it's
might
now
be.
what
It
we
might be a
define
sex
as.
thing.
That's pegging.
No, I think you're right. It's right. It's a penguin thing. And every time I see a chocolate, I think of Tara. Every time I see a
Mm.
Malteser bunny or something Irish, I think of Maria. I'll send her a quick pic. But it's obviously easier because, we communication so often. But I'll tell you, I think we all know Erica, the ghostwriter.
Yeah.
And I haven't spoken to her
Love
in, say,
her.
yeah, fascinating character. Really, really fun dinner guest to have, full of stories. And I haven't spoken to her in 2+ years, and then I got a WhatsApp out of the blue of a picture of carrots, saying, this space made me think of you. And nothing brought more joy on that day than that message. And I think it's just exactly what you're both talking about. It's a very low effort, but it goes a long way.
But
Yeah.
also, just to say, sorry, she was a vibe. We love Erica. I had a very quick lunch with her, and I was like, I like her. She's my people. She's now in my chosen
And
circle.
Erica was so weirdly, and it's who you never know who you're going to become vibe with and friends with. So in this trip from our Africa trip, we had 20, I would say about 20 people per month, right?
Mhm.
So was like 40 different people each all together in the 4 months, give or take.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah.
Right. And out of that, so I had, long story short, but I basically got a really great opportunity to do a Northern Lights cruise. And we just did it in February 2025, but I started planning it since June 2020. I was
You
like,
were
oh,
on it.
I was not letting it go. And basically we figured it out. We got four tickets basically. And the first, it was a long story, but first person really to say yes was a fellow person that was in the all 4 months was Christian. So Christian and I were, yes, we paid it, we did it, we go. The third person, basically, the second person other than Christian to agree with us was Erica. And then we needed a fourth person. Otherwise, she couldn't afford it. Right. And it
Because
was,
the ticket,
the ticket was too much. We went through like 4 or 5 different people who almost said yes and then didn't. And then at the very last day where the deadline was due, Richard, the old roommate who took everyone to the hospital, said, fine, I'll do it. And so, just to give you guys an idea, listeners, and there's a photo of us. It's just, I was like, I can't wait for like people to probably like see us on this ship. But it's this 60-year-old, guy from Brooklyn, Jewish guy. Then you
it's full of
have
energy.
oh my God, he had the most energy. Then that has the energy of like a 5-year-old. Erica is like in her 50s, Black woman. Then you have me, like this Persian American, woman in her 30s. And then you have Christian, this Greek American, tall, man in his late 20s. And I was like the most random grouping. And we're
Collection.
neighbors and we're the roommates. And we met because we traveled across Africa and we kept in touch for over a year. And I wouldn't let it go. I was like, I'm going to Norway, damn it. And I'm seeing the Northern Lights. And then they're like, yeah, let's do it. And Erica hates the cold. But when we saw the Northern Lights, dudes, it was beautiful. I started tearing up. It danced. It
Wow.
rarely dances. We had 4 colors. Usually it's 1 or 2. It had 4
What were
different
the 4
colors.
colors? Green.
It had like, it was so beautiful. It had purple,
Because it's like a
pink, green.
gradient though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a gradient, but usually it doesn't have that many colors at once, and it danced where
my
it like
gosh.
moved. It usually doesn't move like that. And I was like,
insane.
guys, do you have any idea how rare this is? And it was so great. And Erica's like, it's worth all the cold. And I was just like tearing up, holding on to them so hard. I was like, we made it. We did it. And that was just the first time. We had other photos and stuff. But it's, again, we kept in touch. We vibed with each other. And a funny story is like Richard and Christian were waiting for us for dinner. And they're like, where are you guys? And Erica goes, sorry, I'm explaining to her Kendrick Lamar and Drake's feud. So, because Erica and I got into so many conversations where we almost got late for so many different things. We would just get into it. She's
Oh,
great.
you need someone like that, especially on like, because you guys were on it for a few days, right?
It was a
So you need
week
someone
long. We
to
could have
like,
had a 2-week, but I'm glad we just did a week long. That wasn't a great cruise, honestly. But it was a really great, you just don't know who you're going to vibe with and just click, right?
yeah.
And so it's just a really interesting thing. And yeah, and then who we met on the boat and all sorts of stuff, and it was just a really cool thing. And that's also like, who knew what we were gonna and again, out of the 40 people, we're not close with all 40 people from those 4 months in Africa, but still.
So what trip is next on your agenda? What crazy trip
The
have you
big
got planned?
one is, well, other than work stuff, is your wedding.
Well, yeah, okay, there
And
we go. I
okay,
feel
so
special.
now here is another thing. With all of that, you guys loved Cape Town. You guys are
Yeah.
from England. Ronak
Correct.
from London. Maria, you're from, what is it, Cornwall?
Cornwall.
Yes, I was right, Cornwall.
Good
But
job.
you guys decide, and I was surprised, so I'm glad we got this on record. Why did you guys decide on Malaga, Spain, which I've never been to?
I'll take this and I'll field the question. It's more of a mathematical equation, this one. So we love nature, we love being outdoors, and we always envisioned our matrimony to be celebrated outdoors. And so we had to figure out a place in the summer where it had minimal rainfall. And there's very few cities in July which basically can guarantee no rainfall, and Malaga's one of them, which basically has like 1 day chance of rainfall. And you don't really
Yeah.
want an outdoor wedding with rain. So ultimately it was that. But also, if you combine that with Maria also having visited the place and loved it, also loves Spain. Her parents are moving to Spain. there's a lot of affinity with Spain. It just made so much sense. So, combine my maths with Maria's love for Spain, it worked really well to have it in Malaga.
Also, to add to that, I think we would have liked to have had it in Cape Town. And like realistically, it just became all of these people have got to get on at least, at the minimum, a 12-hour flight to get here. And we were just kind of rocking it around and looking at the positives and the negatives. And we're like, it's just too far to ask people to come. And it's too expensive, for them to come. You're looking at $1,000 before you've even like,
Step.
landed and got a hotel and the rest of it. So we found Malaga, we found this most amazing, really quite crazy wedding planner, and we were kind of like still up in air at the start, and then we spoke with her and we just looked at each other and were like, this is it. Like
The
she
vibe.
gets us. The vibe, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's perfect.
The,
Okay.
the leaving event, we've hired a whole donut shop, um, and they look pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been doing, I'm going to the gym every morning, the 7 a.m.
Oh, really? What do
classes,
you do? What do you do in the gym?
the F45. So Tuesday,
Oh,
Thursdays
Oh,
are strength training. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is cardio and strength training. Then Saturday and Sunday,
wow.
I do my thing.
how long is each session?
Mm.
45. That's why it's called 45 minutes.
Oh, is that
45. Yeah, that's why
really?
it's called 45.
And is it the F for functional?
I think so. I don't know.
So the kind of stuff you do is like jumping on boxes, dumbbells, this sort of
Yeah, I
thing.
suck at jumping. I have a fear of it. So I just step up.
I
But I
would
get it
too.
done.
I feel like that's something I want to do
Interesting.
because if you get it done in 45 minutes and you do a full body
And
workout,
it's great. Love it.
Oh,
wow.
well,
And how
maybe
long
we
you
can
been
all
doing
do
that?
one together.
Yeah,
Dude,
we
I've
would. Yeah.
taken so many classes, I can just teach it for you guys. Don't worry about it. Oh, no. Okay. So now I always wanted to do a podcast with a lightning round. So
Okay.
we're going to test these out. I actually worked on these questions. So let's try this. Okay.
Okay. Do
Okay.
we do one of us answer
No,
or
both of you.
how quick do we have to be? How
Well,
lightning?
we'll find out, won't we?
You go first,
Okay.
babe.
Okay. What has to be in your travel bag?
You go first, babe.
Dude.
No, you go. Sorry, I crumpled under pressure.
Wow, stage fright. What has to be in my thing? I don't know. God, just I think my hiking boots.
Okay.
Hmm.
No,
I have.
absolutely
Oh,
not going anywhere without my hiking boots. Not happening.
that's a good one. And now I have to also take my hiking boots everywhere. I have a little zippy bag that like this big that goes in my hand luggage, and in there I keep spare socks for the plane. I keep like a lip balm. I keep like paracetamol, like all this stuff, and that's my little travel hack secret. And then I put that in the front seat, and I can still put my knees forward.
It's a
See,
game changer.
it's
Yeah.
Sounds
that's smart.
small, but it's now also my travel
Cough
pack
sweets as
because we
well.
share.
Always cough sweets.
In case like lodging.
Yeah, because I'm always in the middle, and if you start coughing, tissues, all this stuff like
That's smart.
helpful stuff.
Yeah. Obviously,
Everyone
this
needs
is
to be
like
Maria.
with your passport, phone charger, all that stuff. Okay.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. A friend of mine who,
Wait, what? What
yeah.
about you?
Well,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be on it. So I was gonna be like, probably the.
Chocolate?
Oh, of course. I always have chocolate. Look what's next to me.
No
Oh, I don't
way.
think I've ever had those.
It's just mini Oreos.
Minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had the mini ones.
They better not sue me. So, okay, chocolate. We'll go with that. Okay. There are travelers versus vacationers, right? Vacationers
Mhm.
wander, and there's not really any pre planning, versus travelers like to do a little pre planning and know that it needs to be flexible and stuff. What are you? And who do you like to do travels with?
Okay, I'll go first. I guess I'm a wanderer. I don't really plan anything, although I probably should. So I sort of just wing it. So I guess you call me a vacationer. Never really I self-identified as a vacationer. That's such an American term. Yeah, I just wing it wherever I go. Don't really have a plan.
I'm like a combo. I
Yeah,
like
that's
to
true.
do a bit of Googling. and then turn up and then chill and then like find that coffee shop and then someone tells me about somewhere else at the coffee shop, then go there and kind of like go through a bit of planning, but a bit of wondering. But I remember arriving in Senegal and I'd been from Thailand with my friends,
Mhm.
dancing at full moon party, Saudi Arabia with my sister, and then landed in Africa, the continent of Africa, without ever Googling the country. And I was like, where am I? What do I do? What language do they speak? Like I've never been so confused in my entire life.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And then
That
I
was
got there and did some Googling and I was like, should have probably done that before.
it's Wolof and French for those who are wondering in Senegal.
Mm.
But with the when Ronak mentioned he's like, I guess I'm a vacationer. That reminded me of how we went to Macedonia, sort of semi last minute. Maria did a lot of planning. I agree with Maria. I'm a little bit of both, but and I looked at her what she planned for us, and as a joke, I said to Ronak, she got us a 2 bedroom apartment. And then as a joke, I was like, Ronak, it's a 1 bedroom, like one bed, so we have to share the bed, all three of us. He totally took it seriously. He's like, okay, do you want the middle? I'd be like, oh my god, it's my childhood where my parents wouldn't divorce, and then I'd have to be in the middle. And you're
It's
like, oh, I'm sorry. Is that too like is that triggering or something? I'm like, are you serious? Do you think we're sharing a bed? He's like,
I mean, I
yeah.
And
believed
then
it.
Do you
I
remember this?
trust you. I believed you, and so true. I definitely didn't look
And
at the
then we
itinerary.
went, and then of course we went, and we're like, Maria, where did you take us? You're like, I
oh God,
swear,
it
I
was
thought it was an
like
apartment building.
there was no internet, just to clarify. So everything that I'd done previously was like Work Maria and Work Maria and Vacation Maria are two completely different people. All of that information is gone. And I'm trying to click on the link to be like, where is this place? And then we pull up to this kind of weird looking
Yeah,
apartment block. And they're all like, Maria, so like where is it? Where do we go? Like what number is it? What did you book? And I'm like, I can't remember. And then like we get out of the car and the most lovely people like meet us. It was the most insane apartment. I
it was
mean,
big,
for North Macedonia, I think it was 5 star.
but that just
You had driven us to, it was almost pitch black.
yeah.
Looked
There
a bit
wasn't a
weird because we
soul in
arrived in the
sight.
middle.
There was like people
There was
outside
not a
just like
soul
watching
in
us.
sight. And we're pulling
Yeah.
up and we're like, okay, well, I guess we're eventually going to reach this accommodation. And the mirror's like, no, 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 we've arrived. And me and Tara look out the window and we're like, hell no, this is not where we're staying. And then, no, 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 it is. And then you're messaging the landlord, and then some old man comes on the balcony and says, yes. And we're like, okay, there
Maria,
we
we're
go.
here.
Well, pleasantly surprised. It did have 2 bedrooms, thank the Lord.
Yup.
Yeah. It was perfect.
It worked out. It was really funny though. Ugh, we laughed so hard on that trip.
That
Okay,
was.
just a couple more questions. Where is the most overrated place? Or, to be nicer, you've been to it, you don't need to go again.
Venice.
I agree. I'd say Rome and Cape Town, but okay.
Yeah. Take that
Yo.
back about Cape Town.
No,
What's
I
the
won't.
lie?
You
Fair
just
enough.
had a bad time.
Maria?
I don't know. I feel like most places, I try to go a little bit off the beaten path. So I can't think, where have we been? Anywhere? No, we liked everywhere we've been.
I think we're
Maybe.
pretty exhausted Tirana, I would say, at this point.
Oh yeah, I would say go to Tirana, but do not stay there for 3 months because the scene, the little small. Um, our saving grace was a pub quiz every like Thursday or something,
Yeah.
and we'd be like, it's pub quiz,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
go and we talk to some people, and then we go back on our own lonely
We had
road.
to actually helicopter Tara in just to provide some
That's
spice for
true.
life. Yeah.
Okay, what's a place that surprised you, either in a good way or in a bad way?
Playa del Carmen. Never really Playa del Carmen in
Oh, wait,
Mexico.
okay.
It was just something about waking up at sunrise, sand between the toes, beach literally on your front yard. That's been unparalleled since then. The water there, the sand there, the way the sun rises has a magic to it. The purely that. The rest of it is okay. But that, oh my God, you can't buy that.
Yeah, I might say as much as we just, I don't know, the chat on Tirana. I say Albania is the most underrated place and everyone should go. Me and Sadra went there initially. We went for a whole month. We just went from top to bottom on these tiny little rickety buses, and we got like, what's it called when you do that thing and people
Hitchhiking?
hitchhiking. We hitchhiked with this like group of old Nan people. We ate like this amazing food and all this feta and seafood, and we went from the mountains to the sea, and then me and Ronak went back, and we still had a fantastic time again, and then we went back again and again. That was the problem. I think we overdid it, but I genuinely think it's a like star on the rise, and you should go quickly before it gets over. I don't know, tourism.
What's the best and worst thing about traveling so much?
You know, I read recently that keep the brain young by traveling because you're constantly stimulating your brain with like novel experiences in 3 dimensions, right? In all 5 senses. There's no controlled experiment for my life, so I have no idea if it's reducing my lifespan or not, or increasing it. But it just increases the surface area for fun. Like, there's so many more opportunities to meet different people, different experiences at different depths, as opposed to just being situated in one place with the same people continually. That is truly the best thing. It opens your eyes to new ways of living, new perspectives, meeting people from all backgrounds, walks of life. Honestly, words won't justify the exploration that comes with travel. The worst thing, if you move too frequently, is just the cognitive exhaustion. In the same vein, it's exhausting. Every month or 2 months you're moving, getting a new SIM card, learning a new local language, finding your local cafe, new gym, currency, cash in the wall, accommodation, checking in, checking out, living out of a suitcase, and then trying to make friends and having a social life and then doing all the things and then moving again and rinsing your wallet. My God, exhausted even just saying it. So good and bad. And I have to recognize and be self-aware that that bad thing is a very privileged negative. But yes, that would be my best and worst.
For me, I'd say the best. When I started traveling, which was about 7 years ago, I would have said I was a pretty social, like, I don't know, socially active person. Like if I met people, I felt like I was good at like talking to them or whatever. Like, and I felt like I, did okay. And then when I went traveling, I realized, no, you're the one that has to put the effort in. You have to try here because it's everyone is there for the takings of friendship. Like you're in a hostel, there's 10 people there. You walk out by yourself. You can either say hello to those 10 people or sit there by yourself. And yeah, maybe someone might come over and be nice to you, but you could be that person. So I think learning that skill of like, I can make friends wherever I want. Like I'm in control of this. And yeah, someone might not be my vibe, and that's totally cool. And this is something we're going through a change right now. We're moving to England. It's been 7 years for me, 4 years for Ronak. And we're just focused on applying what we've learned to London. And we're gonna go and we're gonna make friends and everyone's gonna be really nice to us. And if they're not, we'll find new people and they're gonna be nice to us. So it's kind of like the best skill you can learn to really put yourself out there again and again. And who cares? This person's leaving the next day. It doesn't matter if you embarrass yourself or whatever. On the negative side, when I was younger, I could deal with the moving. I actually found it quite thrilling, kind of, going to a new city, doing everything, going to a new city, doing everything. But yeah, I have to say the same as Rono. We're just exhausted.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a while. Lots of places, lots of people, lots of apartments. You can't get the food that you want and all this stuff. And like you said, it is a privilege, but it is exhausting. And we want to travel, but we want to travel and go on holiday and really maximize that travel experience and have that secure home life.
That best part, babe, the way you just said that about you have to give love to receive love, honestly, that's really well put.
Hmm. Good. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to share?
Subscribe, like. Tara is the best
Follow
person in the
Tara.
world. She's doing an amazing job.
Thank you. And yes, thank you for listening. Till next time.
Woohoo!